So, welcome everyone. When I realized that this class was going to fall on May Day, um, I got excited because it is a holy day for many reasons. Most people, I think, in our world think of May Day as a workers' holiday, which it is. And in the stuff that I sent you before the class, there's a little bit of information about how May Day got started as a working people's honoring. But way, way, way before that, in pagan times, May Day is also called Beltane and is the high point between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. And it's the opposite holy day to Hallowmas, which we call Halloween, which is the new year in that tradition. And May Day is one of those times when people felt that the veils between worlds could be thinner or a little more open. So we have a little more access to other worlds, other information, other energies that come through us. And I think at this moment in time, we could all use some wisdom from other worlds. So I found this Beltane prayer that I will start with this morning. The leaves are budding across the land on the ash and oak and hawthorn trees. Magic rises around us in the forest, and the hedges are filled with laughter and love. Dear lady, we offer you a gift, a gathering of flowers picked by our hands, woven into the circle of endless life. The bright colors of nature herself blend together to honor you, Queen of Spring. As we give you honor this day, spring is here and the land is fertile, ready to offer up gifts in your name. We pay you tribute, Our Lady, daughter of the Fae, and ask your blessing this Beltane. So I feel blessed to be seeing you all on this screen on this midday of spring, where we get to plant seeds for the things that we still want to nourish and hope will grow even in these challenging times. So there's a couple of new people on the screen this week. So my name is Redwing, and I'm a nurse at UCSF, and just feeling so grateful that I get to offer poetry sessions as part of the work that I do at UCSF. It's just like, okay, where did this gift come from? So I'm very thrilled to be here and to be offering this. And so, as always, what we'll do is introduce ourselves briefly, your name, where you are, and maybe today just a word or two about really how you're feeling right now in this moment, in this day. For those of you who are new to this, pretty much what we do for the hour is after the introductions, I typically read some poem and ask for what resonates for you, if there's a line or a word that stands out for you. And then we do a couple of prompts where we take a few minutes and do some writing ourselves and really only share with each other what feels positive, what resonates. This is not a time of being critical about each other's writing. It's just a time for all of us to allow expression to come through us with words. And as you will see, it's always amazing what happens in a few minutes of allowing ourselves this space to be together and do some writing. So welcome. I'm going to read you a poem that, to me, talks about what it means to deal with challenging situations. This was written by a woman named Nadine Pineda, who's this amazing spirit and writer who I met when I was studying poetic medicine. She lives in Belgium. And this is called Safety Instructions. So I would just say, listen to it with your open heart and see if there's a line or an idea or a phrase or a word that really resonates for you in this poem. Safety Instructions. When life's hurricane comes bearing down, threatening to lash you senseless, seek shelter. Find the warm blanket you caress like the felted fur of your cat, curled before a glowing hearth. Of breath that fills both heart and earth. Breathe. There's always time to curse the darkness. After the tears, light a honeycomb candle and heal your own sun. The bridge from sorrow to joy may seem to vanish in the flood, but who says you can't join those who cross over with a single braided rope of gratitude? I'm going to read it again. When life's hurricane comes bearing down, threatening to lash you senseless, seek shelter. Find the warm blanket you caress like the felted fur of your cat, curled before a glowing hearth, of breath that fills both heart and earth. Breathe. There's always time to curse the darkness. After the tears, light a honeycomb candle and heal your own sun. The bridge from sorrow to joy may seem to vanish in the flood, but who says you can't join those who cross over with a single braided rope of gratitude? So I'm wondering if there's a line or a word that jumps out at you, and you can just unmute yourselves to speak to this.
I guess I liked there were two lines that jumped out at me. One was light a honeycomb candle because it's so specific and I could both see it and feel the scent. It was sort of a sensual line in the poem. And also the title, Safety Instructions. I mean, that's something I've been spending way too much time looking for in my life.
Yeah.
So the title went right in to me.
Thank you.
The word breathe meant a lot to me. It kind of was a fulcrum between the thunder and what happens to us, and then what we do with that. I couldn't quite yet get into that wrapping that blanket around. I like the sound of it. I like the honeycomb candle. I like the light your sun and that, but I had to stay focused on the breathe. That's what I can do. Breathe.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I really like the line after the tears, just because it indicates there may be tears, that the tears will happen. And then afterward, there's space. So I like that, that tears will come.
Patrice?
I like the single braided rope. It's not very thick, it's thin, and there's a thin line between happiness and joy, but the connection is gratitude, being thankful. I just like the way that was worded.
Yeah, it's a great visual image, that rope of gratitude. Yeah. Patrice?
I yes and yes and yes. um, and also the phrase, there's always time.
Mm.
So what I'm going to suggest is that you use whatever phrase jumped out for you, or else you use the title Safety Instructions and write your own safety instructions. We'll do like a 3-minute write. So for those of you who haven't done this before, just allow yourself to write whatever comes through you related to a line in that poem, related to the idea of safety instructions, or whatever comes through you. So just start writing, and I will ring the bell again in 3 minutes. Sometimes words come out that actually look like a poem. Sometimes they just look like words. Sometimes they feel finished. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes we get to go back to them later and see where they take us. But I'm wondering if anyone is willing to share what came through them. I want to read you another poem. And it was interesting because when I picked these poems earlier in the week, I mean, there's so many that I can choose from. It's always hard to decide. But then last night I had a very intense dream that really speaks to this poem by Mary Oliver called The Journey. One day, you finally knew what you had to do and began. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice. Though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles, mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do. Though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible, it was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. Little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. In my dream last night, I was in a box canyon and I heard this thundering, thundering noise and looked and saw that the river was starting its flash flood. And I knew that it was going to rise 30 feet within a couple of minutes. And my only way out was to climb straight up this cliff. And I was terrified that I wasn't strong enough to climb out. And as I had to grab each rock and move my leg and trust that I would place my foot in the right spot and be able to pull myself up, I got to the top and knew I was strong enough and I could save the only life that I could save. Having been an ICU nurse and attempted to save many a life in my time, I know that's not true. So I'm wondering what lines resonated for some people.
Determined.
You finally knew what to do. She says it twice. You finally knew what to do.
The stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds.
That kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world.
I like the images of and words talking about traveling in this poem. And I don't know where the traveling is to. Yeah.
Right, right.
But it speaks of personal journey, I think.
Through the wind and the wild night, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a sense of urgency. Yeah. Gotta go, gotta do it. Yeah.
It was striking to me the image of the voices and the ankles. Like there are a lot of voices underneath or close to the ankles trying to grab
Old tug.
and this person just not knowing where the next step is. But then it's clear the most important, the first step is to care for oneself.
We're all learning that. So I'm going to suggest as a prompt, either one day I finally knew, or little by little, ... Or really, what if there's another line or word that speaks to you, use that as your prompt. And we'll do another 3-minute write. Would someone be willing to share what they wrote? Well, I'm aware of a time I'm going to end with a poem by John Fox that sort of completes the circle of starting with the Beltane prayer this morning. Thanking you all again for just showing up here, allowing ourselves to really be in this moment of this midway through spring. Those of us in California feel it more as midway, probably in other parts of the world, it's the beginning of spring. But it is this holy time. And as much as it feels like a dark time also, and dark is sometimes holy. And just to remind you that if something comes through in your writing that you feel like you really want to share more broadly, please send it to us, either to Gail or to me. This last week in our MERI Center newsletter, a couple of poems from the group from last week went out in the MERI Center newsletter, which was wonderful. So feel free to send that to us. If for some reason you don't get the MERI Center newsletter and you want to, shoot me or Gail an email as well. We will continue to be doing this on Fridays. I think in June we're going to switch the day because some people said they couldn't come on Fridays, but we'll go back and forth to make it work for people. So this is a poem by John Fox, who's the person who I studied poetic medicine with. This is called A Healing Prayer for Those with Coronavirus and Those Who Are at Risk. May the life-blessing power of your deep root of body, heart, and soul rise up whole, where the mother of all life also rises up, mending and bringing healing to every cell of your body, so that the fertile and healthy marrow of the Great Spirit leaps, light of foot, into body, into waking eyes, into that inviolate soul place with light, into light, seeking light, aware of all loving souls whose prayers and chants make a sacred place for healing and for home. Aware of all loving souls whose prayers and chants make a sacred place for healing and for home. And aware of all of you loving souls whose words and presence makes this a healing place for ourselves, for each other. May we take this out into the world as we go on with our steps in our day and our weekend and our lives. And I look forward to seeing your faces again whenever possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you.